Your mic isn't on.
Oh, it's okay. I was practicing.
Sorry.
Nah, but earlier it was on, was it?
No, no.
It wasn't.
It was.
Oh, okay.
We love Kuro too.
Hey, good luck on chair personing.
Hope I don't make any mistakes though.
Takpe. We are viral. We will viral satu CFS. Viral satu ni macam lunch.
Share the links to your
Viral
friends
satu CFS.
Huh?
since you guys are on live. Share the links to your friends though.
Share link to your friends. Let's go.
I don't want.
Cannot lah. I cannot get away with bullying people, bro. If I'm going to bully people, better not be on live TV.
All right, it is now 9:25 and we will start the debate. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to everyone. With the blessings of Allah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are gladly able to gather here today for Jumska. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I thank all of you for joining us today, and I welcome each and every one of you warmly. My name is Purato Ain, and I am your chairperson and timekeeper for today's debate. I would also like to introduce our very esteemed judge to all of you. We have Sister Christina for our judge today. Before we begin, I will briefly explain the rules. Speeches should be 7 minutes in duration. Speakers exceeding this may be penalized but should never be substantially less than this. A bell will be rung after every consecutive minute. After 6 minutes, the bell will be rung twice. After 7 minutes, the bell will be rung until the speaker stops delivering their speech. POIs can only be offered after the expiration of 1 minute and may not be given after the expiration of 6 minutes. POIs may only be given to opposing teams and should be generally not more than 15 seconds in duration. If the speaker exceeds the 15-second duration, the chairperson may request the speaker to end their POI. You may give your POI in the form of raising your hand button, or verbally announce it, or tell it in the chat box, whichever that you prefer. The duration of the reply speech will be 4 minutes. Speakers must use formal language. Inappropriate language is prohibited. Debate sessions will always start with the government's first speaker, which is the Prime Minister. It is then followed by the opposition leader, then Deputy Prime Minister, then Deputy Opposition Leader, then Government Sweep, and ends with the Opposition Sweep. For reply speeches, both government and opposition sides are given 4 minutes of preparation for the reply speeches. Now, with the rules explained, we will now start with our first debate of the day. This motion the motion before the House is that this House believes that Shifu should have said something when Oogway denied Tai Lung as the Dragon Warrior. The government team for this debate today is FOCHUSS. For the first speaker, we have Shazlin Sophia. For the second speaker, Alia Zulfa. And the third speaker, Muhammad Abdullah. The reply speech will be delivered by Shazlin. The opposition team is MEDCY. And the opposition team in this debate are Haziq as the first speaker, Ayman Najmi as the second speaker, and Zarif Ikhwan as the third speaker. The reply speech will be delivered by Haziq. So,
One sec, Kurato.
I'm sorry.
Second speaker is Zarif.
Second speaker is Zarif, and the third speaker will be Ayman Najmi. All right, noted. So, without further ado,
Correction for government. The second speaker will be Matt, and the third speaker will be Zulfa, and I'll be reply speech.
all right, noted.
Zul.
Okay.
Sorry. May I
Yes.
get the names in the chat box? Is it possible?
Right. Okay, so without further ado, please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Shazlin Sophia from the government team, to the floor to open this debate.
Am I audible at that time?
Yes. You may start whenever you're ready.
Alright.
Last 2 minutes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'll begin my speech in 1, 2, 3. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. I'd like to bid to the honorable judges, the chairperson, and members of the floor. Today, we are here to debate the motion. This house believes that Shifu should have said something when Oogway denied Tai Lung as a dragon warrior. To begin with this debate, I would like to say that I will only be accepting POIs in the second last minute. All right, so as the government prime minister, I will be providing the case study for this debate and the basis on what we will be debating on. So starting with my case study, Shifu found Tai Lung at the steps of a temple when he was a newborn. Shifu then raised Tai Lung as his own and hoped that Tai Lung was the fabled dragon warrior with his natural talents in kung fu. However, after years of training in kung fu, he stood before Oogway, the grandmaster, only to be denied the honor of being the dragon warrior. This was because Oogway believed that there was a darkness within Tai Lung that this was worsened by the fact that Shifu did not protest at all against Oogway's conclusion. Enraged by betrayal and sense of abandonment due to Shifu, Tai Lung then went on a rampage through the village and attempted to take the scroll by his own. Moving on, I will give the characterization of what I have just said for this debate, which is tree, dragon warrior, set something, and darkness. So, Dragon Warrior is a destined master of great skill who will be granted the secrets of the universe by reading the Dragon Scroll. And then second, said something, which is a verbal expression that can either be sympathetic, apologetic, or words of hope or protest towards the situation. And then three, darkness, which is the moral. So the moral in Kung Fu is morality of deed. This is in real life. And then given that Oogway found the certain darkness in Tai Lung, this might be due to the fact apply for the ethics in Kung Fu, such as respect for life. All right, moving on to the mechanism of this debate. For our mechanism as government, we are providing two things that could have happened, that should have happened during the scene, which is one, Shifu should have said something to Oogway, and two, Shifu should have said something to Tai Lung. First, for the thing that Shifu should have said to Oogway is that why did you reject him, Tai Lung, when he is not even worthy for reasons he would never have seen in the first place? This will further be elaborated in the argumentation or any similar questioning on the reasons to urge contemplation towards Oogway for Oogway's verdict while in front of Tai Lung as foreseen. And then moving on to what Shifu should have said to Tai Lung is, you do not need the title of the Dragon Warrior to be a great warrior. Many of those who have lived before you are great, and you will be destined for greatness. Moving on with the stance of our debate, which is something that we hold as the government side dearly, is we believe that if Shifu have said something, it will change Tai Lung from the villain of the story as the antagonist, um, with someone who is of lesser motivation. So he will still be the villain, although it will be the antagonist with lesser motivation, which causes less damage and harm to every side involved. Secondary antagonists. And then moving on to our stakeholders, which will be the people who are affected by this debate, which is first Tai Lung, Shifu, and the village, which is the Valley of Peace. Moving on for our assumptions of this debate is that there are two assumptions. First, Tai Lung felt betrayed solely because Shifu has said nothing um, when he could have even Shifu has said nothing when he could have because he didn't know surely whether Tai Lung was truly the dragon warrior. And then second assumption is Tai Lung's darkness is something that could have been mitigated. Even if it couldn't have been prevented, at least it could have not caused the catastrophic damage that is portrayed within the movie, which is towards our stakeholder, the village of peace, the valley of peace. And then for our key split, which will be divided between me and the deputy prime minister, which is father figure, safeguard Tai Lung, and then make up for lack of appreciation. So moving on with my argumentation, first is the role and impact of the father figure. So starting off, Shifu is the father figure towards Tai Lung. Sorry. Shifu is the father figure of Tai Lung. This can be said because Tai Lung was abandoned by his biological family, and then Shifu was the one who found him. So it is only logical that Shifu were to say the words of comfort towards the boy that he raised himself. And then, given that Tai Lung admires Shifu as a father figure and a master, it would be logical that he trusts Shifu within the story, because we have to see the context here. Shifu is the only person he has ever known. He, from birth, has known no one at all. He was raised by the temple on his own, and therefore would obviously trust Shifu 100%. And then Shifu is partly at fault as he raised Tai Lung with the confidence that he was destined for greatness. Shifu gave him fake hope that years of learning Kung Fu will be rewarded with the Dragon Scroll. The only assumption that we can argue, whether we agree or disagree, is that whether Shifu realizes that destiny and potential is the main factor at play, not talent. Moving on with this argument, Shifu does not let out a semblance of an apology during the scene, and years of Tai Lung training to become the Dragon Warrior turned out to be fruitless. His nonchalantness reacting to Oogway is not justified in any means, even if he was trying to keep his cool and not respect the verdict that was given by his master Oogway. Moving on, Tai Lung looks up to Shifu as a master, and any words at all will give an impact towards Tai Lung and drive him away from the dark side of him destroying the Valley of Peace. And then I want to finish this argumentation by saying that something can mean everything, and even if it is the slightest words, it can truly affect the course of the story. And to that, I end my speech with the stance that given that Shifu said something to Tai Lung, it would have greatly affected the course of the story. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much to the first speaker, Shazleen, as the Prime Minister from the government, for her wonderful speech. All right, so without further ado, I would like to invite the first speaker of the opposition, Haziq, to open the case for their side. Here.
Assalamu alaikum. Let me check first because we had mic problems last time. Am I audible? All clear?
Yes, very much.
Right. Give me a second. Okay, I'm gonna start my speech. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone present here today. All right, so the motion for today is this house believes that Shifu should have said something when Oogway denied Tai Lung as the Dragon Warrior. So first of all, the government team has presented definitions, saying something meaning words of hope or protest. Right, let me just get to the protest point real quick. So if Shifu were to say a word of protest, then it would cause disharmony in the world of Kung Fu because now you're siding with another person, but I won't delve too deeply into that because my second speaker will get to that later on. All right, so and then Oogway denied Tai Lung as the Dragon Warrior. Dragon Warrior is a person destined who gets the Dragon Scroll and learns the secrets of the universe supposedly inside of it, although it's just yourself believing in yourself. So yeah, we agree with most of the definitions given by the government team, except one thing that they mentioned was that Shifu hoped Tai Lung was the fabled Dragon Warrior. We would like to point out that Shifu never explicitly said Tai Lung will be the Dragon Warrior. Shifu just said, "You are destined for greatness." And then when he was denied the title of Dragon Warrior, Tai Lung went on a rampage against the whole society, or the whole village rather. Okay. So there are two splits that the government team has said that could have happened or should have happened. That is, Shifu should have said something to Oogway and Shifu should have said something to Tai Lung. All right. So we as the opposition team, let me just clarify our stance. We think Shifu, what he did was fine. He should not have said anything as it is a sign of respect. That is another point my second speaker will get to. So what should have happened on the government side? Shifu should have said something to Oogway. First of all, I think this is a very disrespectful thing because they need to understand what Oogway's level is. Oogway is the creator of Kung Fu itself in this universe. So if Shifu went and said something to Oogway, this is not logical. This is not respectful. My second speaker will elaborate more on that, so I don't want to touch on it too much. So the question when they said why Shifu didn't say anything to Oogway, because Tai Lung didn't know about this. So if you realize in the story, Oogway really emphasizes, because he's the creator, so he can do what he wants. Oogway really emphasizes learning things by yourself. If you realize Oogway just upped and left in a flurry of flower petals for Shifu to learn how to take care of the problem of Po, right? Teaching Po. So Oogway likes teaching people by making them learn from their own examples and learning from themselves. So when Oogway denied Tai Lung, it wasn't just a denial because, oh, there's darkness in his heart. No, it is Oogway testing Tai Lung to see what does he do when faced with rejection. Because Oogway is a very hands-on person. He wants to see what you do. He doesn't want to spoon feed you anything. He didn't say, okay, Shifu, here's Po, here's the Dragon Warrior, here's the training schedule and what you must do to help him. No, Shifu was like, you will find your way. Good luck. This is your destiny, right? So Oogway is very centric on you finding your own path in life. And then the government team said that Shifu should have said something to Tai Lung. That, oh, Tai Lung, you don't need the title. Okay, it's fine if you're not the Dragon Warrior. But the government themselves said that even if Shifu said something like that, he'd still be an antagonist, right? So this comes to my first point, which I'll get into in a bit. Oh, wait, you know what? Why not? So if Shifu were to say something to Tai Lung, even if he said or didn't say anything, the rampage would still happen. Because the whole reason we want this debate exists is because we want to avoid the rampage that happened on the village and Tai Lung trying to forcefully take the dragon scroll. So my point is, the rampage would still happen because there's darkness in the heart of Tai Lung. So if Shifu said anything, if Shifu said nothing, as we see in the movie, Tai Lung had anger issues or darkness in the heart, as Oogway pointed out, and he went on a rampage trying to steal the scroll and whatnot. But even the government agreed that even if Shifu said something, there is still darkness in Tai Lung's heart, and he still would have gone on a rampage, maybe on a less rampage, but a rampage is a rampage nonetheless. And Shifu cannot side with Tai Lung because that will create a disharmony in the society of Kung Fu. Because it's like you need to understand the levels here. Oogway is the grandmaster, Shifu is the master, Tai Lung is a student. So if this master is trying to go against what the grandmaster said, that is completely disrespectful and is not giving like due respect to the person who created Kung Fu because he knows better. Both Shifu and Tai Lung know that the choice of the Dragon Warrior, who it gets to be the Dragon Warrior, was not in their hands. You can have confidence that you're able to do something, but when faced with rejection, you shouldn't throw a tantrum. And that is what I think Oogway was trying to test when he rejected Tai Lung as the Dragon Warrior. And sure enough, what Oogway thought was right. Tai Lung had anger issues and he rampaged the whole village. Why did he need to rampage a whole village? If he really wanted the Dragon Scroll, when Oogway said you are not the Dragon Warrior, just go and get it there. No, he had to murder a bunch of people in the village. Of course, they didn't show murder because it's a kid show, but rampage gives that idea. He had to go attack a whole village and then go in for the Dragon Scroll. Doesn't that show that there's something wrong with Tai Lung? All right. So yeah, so if Shifu said something to Oogway, that would be disrespectful. If Shifu said something to Tai Lung, that would be against the respect. That would also be disrespectful and create forgetting the word, but basically you're creating division, yes, in Kung Fu, in the world of Kung Fu. All right, so then the first speaker, I'd like to get back to the point of the first speaker of the government team, that is the father figure that Shifu trusted, getting things mixed up. Tai Lung trusted Shifu as a father figure because Shifu raised him as a child. But if you look at the story, Shifu treated Tai Lung like that because Shifu was basically the child of Oogway. Shifu was left at the front of the Jade Palace and Oogway picked him up and trained him and everything. So if anything, Tai Lung, Oogway is like Tai Lung's grandfather. So even in our society, right, we have to trust and we have to respect our grandfather's decisions more than our father, right? That is the hierarchy. That is the social hierarchy. So in this world of Kung Fu, they talk about the morality of Kung Fu. You need to respect your master because your master knows better. He's been at this job. He created Kung Fu. So I like to point out that if Tai Lung would have understood Shifu, Tai Lung should have understood Oogway more because he is more senior in this. So with that, I believe that Shifu should is fine not to say anything because it would have made no difference. He still would have gone on a rampage because of the darkness in his heart. And therefore, I think side opposition is right and side gov is making no points. With that, I'd like to rest my case. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much to the first speaker from the opposition side for his interesting speech. Then, I would like to continue the debate by calling upon the second speaker of the government side, Muhammad Abdullah.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And thank you to the leader of opposition for the argument given. So I would like to start my debate with rebutting the point given by the leader of opposition. The leader of opposition said that even if Shifu said something to Tai Lung, the rampage will still happen. But what we, the government, said that even if the rampage will happen, we can control the damage. The worst case scenario is that we can control the damage. That's what we are hoping for. All right. And then the second one that the leader of opposition said is that when Shifu said something to Oogway, it will count as disrespecting Oogway as the grandmaster. But the leader of opposition used the word protest. We didn't use the word protest. We used the word said something because even if we said something, it doesn't mean that we disrespect him. We can say something in a more respectful way to voice out our opinion. That's what we're trying to say here. And then the leader of opposition keep on giving assumptions on the killing and everything. The movie portrayed the killing scene? No, it doesn't. So this all assumption is not in the info slide. Okay, now I will go on to my argument. So my argument would be, we believe that if Shifu said something, it can safeguard the darkness growing within Tai Lung. Shifu is the closest person to Tai Lung. Being denied something that Tai Lung sought over for years would be detrimental to him mentally. With that in mind, Shifu should have been there for Tai Lung and said any word for support. Given that Tai Lung was given the support that was required, it may have changed the course of the show. For example, the motivation from resentment on or revenge of Tai Lung can change simply to wanting to become an obstacle to Po becoming the Dragon Warrior. Tai Lung would not have become the venerated villain of Valley Peace that he is now. Instead, he wants to protect the Dragon Scroll from being read by someone incapable of holding the secrets of Kung Fu. He just deemed Po as someone that didn't have, it's not worthy, right? Being a lesser antagonist or an anti-hero doesn't necessarily mean you're a villain or you're a main antagonist. It could just have been challenge or obstacle within the story, not like a full boss fight. In conclusion, this could be a form of damage control that I've said earlier for both the village, the Valley of Peace, and for the people involved in the story. Then I will go on to my second argument is that we can make up, Shifu should make up for the lack of appreciation and ignorance given to Tai Lung by Oogway. Given that Tai Lung trained all his life for this moment only to be rejected because of factor that he may or may not have been able to control, which is the darkness inside him. And that was not, he is not predestined to be the Dragon Warrior. That's not something that he have the control over. All right. Who knows? The word of support that Shifu could have given to Tai Lung may even be a catalyst for Tai Lung to change for the better, or at least prevent the evil in him and darkness in him from harming other people. The lack of appreciation will undoubtedly foster resentment and dissatisfaction, which happened to Tai Lung. Because of this, we believe that recognizing and expressing gratitude for the efforts that Tai Lung had devoted to become the Dragon Warrior is essential and important to make sure that Tai Lung didn't become what he is today. So Oogway has said that there's darkness within. There's darkness within Tai Lung. But we should take note that the nature of human, or in this case, the animals, there's the nature is there's nature and nurture. Nature is something that we've been born with, while nurture is something that that could have been in our control. We can nurture to become a good people. We can be nurtured to become bad people. So in this case, what Shifu should have done to Tai Lung is to nurture him to become a better person, rather than him going on rampage because of his dissatisfaction against Tai Lung, against Shifu and Oogway. He could have been someone that could have helped Po becoming a better dragon warrior, like how Tigress is in this movie. Like Tigress is also someone that have a potential to become the dragon warrior, but she didn't become one. But she's still a good person in this movie. She helped Po to become better at kung fu. That's what Thailand can be. And then you should not undermine the word of support, because the word of support that Shifu should have given to Tai Lung is a remarkable ability to uplift and inspire, providing comfort and motivation in challenging times. Right? They create a positive impact on mental well-being, fostering a sense of connection and resilience. The word of support act as a powerful emotional anchor for Tai Lung, offering reassurance and empathy. When someone receives encouragement, it can enhance their self-esteem and confidence. It can also give them a sense of belonging. Positive affirmation and expression of belief in one's capabilities and can contribute to a more optimistic mindset, which in this case will prevent the worst case scenario, which is the killing of the innocent people that the leader of opposition have said there's not an enforced lie. It can also prevent that from happening. All right. Additionally, supportive word foster a sense of community and understanding between Oogway, Shifu, and Tai Lung. If the supportive word that Shifu could have given to Tai Lung, and then what Shifu could have said to Oogway can become something that can foster a sense of community, a sense of understanding between the three, so that this harmony that the leader of opposition said should not happen. All right. Something can mean everything and anything really, but something. Rather than nothing, it should be something. In conclusion, a word or two could have really meant a lot to both Shifu and Tai Lung. And that is logical, and that it would have an impact to the story, or at least the character roles within the story. This would have stopped him from destroying the village and causing harm to the innocent. And then I want to highlight our stance that we believe that if Shifu had said something, it would change Tai Lung from the villain of the story to the antagonist or secondary antagonist with a lesser motivation, causing less damage and harm to everyone, to every side involved. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much to the Deputy Prime Minister for his interesting and good speech. All right. So,
Thanks.
to continue this debate, I would like to call upon the second speaker of the opposition, Zarif Irfan, to continue the side for their case.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning for everybody. So the first thing that I want to rebut is that you say just now that Shifu should say something to Tai Lung at least to become a rival, right? And for a rival for the Dragon Warrior. Oh, but still, there are darkness inside Tai Lung. The fact that there is a darkness in Tai Lung can be it can be changed because of can be reduced or changed, but there are darkness inside the Tai Lung. Another thing that I want to rebut is that you say that rampage could happen, but controllable. Yeah, still the rampage still happen. It still kill innocent people in the story. It still hurt people. So that's why the Kung Fu itself exists to control the harmony in the movie itself. So now going to for my end the rebuttal now. I want to go for my point. So for my first point is Shifu need to respect Oogway decision. Shifu is a grandmaster in the hierarchy. Oogway. Oogway, sorry. Sorry about what? Oogway is a master, a grandmaster in the story itself. He's the one the great the kung fu. He are more knowledgeable. So even the Shifu in the kung fu realm of philosophy, even Shifu don't desire one, don't like the what is the Oogway say. He cannot say anything. He cannot change the fact. Oogway, his age is like more triple or quadruple than the age of Shifu itself. It's very, very old. In the movie itself, it's like 700 years or more than that. Okay, so if he just obey Oogway and said something, it will cause disruption in the community. So for analogy, if we give a community of mathematician, the professor itself, teacher, and student, if the student say that if the mathematician said, oh, 1 + 1 is 2, but the student said, no, I think it's not, it's 3. So the teacher said, yeah, I think it's 3 too. And it will cause, what will happen? It will cause a disrupt in the community itself. It will hinder the progress of the community to become better one beside that. So yeah, if Shifu obey, it will maintain the harmony and order. The Kung Fu community, the Jet Palace, will be fine and harmony. So Shifu respect to Oogway is not a sign of weakness or not like a baby or so somewhat. It's a show of strongness for Shifu. That's why the Kung Fu philosophy said itself. So my other point is Tai Lung is already grown up. He is already old enough. So during Tai Lung and Shifu, as we know, grows beside together from the young age until already grown up. So Tai Lung, of course, will know, understand better what his decision and understand his master Shifu talking about or thinking how. So technically, he knows what better for himself. So for analogy, I would say that um, the parents say that for the the parents have said to the children, oh, you can have the ice cream, but the what we call it, the grandfather said, oh, you can have the ice cream. So did the child need to throw tantrum or respect his grandfather? Of course, he need to obey his grandfather. The fact that the child, the Tai Lung himself, go rampage is shown that he's not suitable for being the Dragon Warrior in the movie itself. So that's only from me. Oh wait. Yeah, I want to conclude that it's already old enough. Tai Lung is already old enough for make his own decision in whatever case. He's matured. For us, like, do your father say anything like, okay, first you're gonna go wake up and do anything, blah blah blah, show all the step? No, we make all our decision for that. And that's I want to conclude that Shifu should not say anything because he need to respect for Oogway, and Tai Lung already matched it for that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for the second speaker, for the Deputy Leader of Opposition, for his very comprehensive speech. I would like to invite the third speaker from the government side, Alia Zulfa, to continue this debate. Here.
Let me rearrange my notes. All right. With this, I enter my speech in 3, 2, 1. Roses are red, violets are blue. We will say, we will show why the argumentation for opposition is bad and why we are true. So first things first, I would like to point out, rebut a few things before strengthening the points given by my team, which is obviously a few things given by the DLO, which was problematic, aka the analogies that were given I will point that later. I also go on a few points given by the leader of opposition. So first things first, they talk about disrespect. They talk about how okay, the protest. If we ever protested or we said anything within that situation, it will cause disharmony within kung fu. And their reasoning behind it, from what I understand, and they said basically it's fine because you should not do anything because it's disrespectful towards kung fu itself. And then they claim that because Oogway was the one who constructed this kung fu in the first place. He was the one who was created kung fu, and he was going for the practical side. And then basically, I'm just going to say that easy. It was not provided in the info slide. This is out of the bounds of the debate. Thus, they are squirreling away from the debate. So, from the leader of opposition, you can already see the problems within the team and the proposition that they are giving. So, with that, I would like to go on a few. Yes, few I please.
So on that note, even
PI?
the rampage was not given on the info slide. So you can't use that as a point then.
Given on the info slide. Yes, but do you see the rampage, the situation going in within the temple where they had a fight? That is a rampage. Even you say it's like a tantrum. A tantrum is a rampage. You agreed. Your second speaker agreed. Thus, I will go on with my few points. All right. Oh, given that, okay, while I'm at it, they talk about a child analogy. They gave an analogy which they said, oh, this child, he wants ice cream. And then his dad said no. And his mom said, but no, so he should have known. A kid, to for them to know, you have to actually go against them in the first place. You actually have to tell them why you should not have gotten this ice cream in the first place. And that's the whole point of us doing this debate. They talk about okay, we should have prevented this rampage fully. But again, to prevent rampage, to let Tai Lung learn is where we should question and protest these things. Sure, they say, oh, disrespect, disrespect, disrespect. But I ask you, is disrespect the worth human souls that were sacrificed within? Then is it worth the harm? Sure, disrespect. Sure, you say, oh, there's no rampage, there's no killing, there's no what within the info site and so on and so forth. Then I argue, is it worth the disrespect? Is it worth the harm done within what happened within the situation? Because in the end, what Tai Lung was most angry, as we've talked about in social, he was most angry just because he said nothing. It's not the issue within that is disrespect or anything. Hey, him going against Shifu and hurting him is also disrespect. How do you prevent further disrespect? By disrespecting in the first case, because the disrespecting in first case was not as tragic and was not as harmful as compared to what happened in the situation later. So as I said, is disrespect worth human souls? Is respect worth human lives? So again, not only are they going off info slide, even if they were true to the info slide, yeah, it's very obvious from what my second speaker and my first speaker said, we would have already won the debate. So I'll go on a few assumptions going on from this because they want to insist in rewriting the movie. They talk about hierarchy. They talk about okay, your grandpa and so on so forth out of info slide. I'm going to ignore that. And then they got repetitive in the point of darkness. Like if they had any more good points. Not only they gave a very flawed point, which my second speaker has talked about and rebutted against. But they which we rebutted twice and they're repetitive, which is very flawed. But they talk about the criticism. Okay, they talk about okay, why should we not protest? But in my opinion, constructive criticism is needed because they learn better when they get constructive criticism, which is exactly what my point when I talk about the child energy. You need to tell that child why they cannot get the ice cream. And how do you get that? By letting them question it. Letting them question it. And this constructive criticism, aka the protest, is better because it helps them learn. That's the point of this debate. We are here saying that, okay, Tai Lung should have learned. And how does he learn? If he said something, if someone asked the question that made him learn, he would have become a better person. At least if he had darkness, at least it could have been mitigated. They argue, oh, but it does not stop the rampage whatsoever. Yes, but at least it could have prevented further harm. Further harm. In fact, of him trying to kill Shifu straight up, he could have just had a fight, not straight up trying to punch him, which is literally within the info slide, which is not our info slide. All right. So at least we could have done something. And that is our stance. Something is still something rather than nothing. Because our worst case scenario is at least, okay, I'll tell them what your worst case scenario is as the opposition, and I tell you what my worst case scenario is as the government. Your worst case scenario is that okay, he goes on a rampage, whatever in the story it goes. And your best case scenario is that it is to test Tai Lung. because respect. Even though major disrespect, major harm comes right after that when the situation given by the end of the info slide. That is their worst case scenario and their best case scenario. Okay, I tell you what our best case scenario and worst case scenario. Our best case scenario is that these kind of issues should have been mitigated. He would not have gone on a rampage. Maybe he could have a nice talk to talk with Shifu. Nice, talk to talk, as you say, father and son talk to talk. And even if he knew that Oogway was his grandpa. Personally, do you always listen to your grandpa? Like really, really, we know there is a generation gap between all of us and we have a different understandings. So it will be reasonable for Tai Lung to at least be able to question it. It's not disrespect, it's just basic logic. We should be able to question it. Seeing there's 1 minute and not much for me to say because none of the points given by the opposition were very strong and we have already rebutted it. I will go on why our case is better. All right. Not only we have made it specific in our mechanism, in our safeguard that we have cared for all our stakeholders, which is of course Tai Lung, Shifu, and of course the value of peace, meaning we care and we have proven why we care and why we do this better. Why we do this debate better? But because our case scenario, even if even if Tai Lung did go on a rampage as per se, worst case scenario, it will still be a fight, a disrespect, but at least a disrespect that's better than the disrespect, which is killing your master in the first place, which again is more disharmony to the world of kung fu than what they're arguing right now. They say it's disharmony, it causes conflict, but killing your master is. So with that, I would like to end my speech. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much to the government whip for her very fervent speech. Now, last but not least, I would like to invite the last speaker from the opposition side to give his speech. Here.
Assalamualaikum. Our connection was unstable just now, so I'm just trying to make sure if we're audible. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna start in 3, 2, 1. Assalamualaikum. I'm Aiman, and I'm gonna be the whip. Um, first of all, I would like to start with some rebuttal. The second speaker for Team Focus did mention about assumption. And I would like to say there's a lot of assumption for Team Focus. First things first, one thing that they kept talking about and emphasized on was about how they can control the damage of the rampage, which again, the rampage itself, as you stated, things not on the slide are all not valid. So you talked about the rampage. Rampage is not on the slide. All we saw is Tai Lung against Shifu, and Tai Lung got angry on Shifu. No rampage, no valid point. You talked about it. We accepted it. That's why we think. And another assumption is that they can control the damage done by Tai Lung. Let me ask you this: when Tai Lung fought against the Furious Five, it was clear who were the strongest. Who was the strongest? Tai Lung can easily beat all of them. He one punched Monkey. One punch, boom, done. There's no one could control him. Even Shifu himself was near on the brink of death. No one could control him but Oogway, which clearly he did control it. Even if when Shifu didn't say anything, you talked about you want control. Oogway did control him. He was in prison for 20 years. That was control until he became an absolute maniac and break free because one feather can't do anything but that. He was a duck. Yeah, so again, if you were to talk about control, they did control him. And also, wait, what was I gonna talk? Okay, never mind. I was gonna say that the choice was on Oogway. Okay, so again, my first and second speaker emphasized a lot on respect. I'm sure all of you have seen Karate Kid, Jackie Chan, and Will Smith's kid. What's his name? Jaden. Yeah, Will Smith and Jaden. Well, no. Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan. Yes. Have you seen that movie? what did what did Dre Parker, portrayed by Jaden, did for his first few weeks of training? He did nothing. He just picked up his own jacket, wore it, take it back, put it on the floor, pick it up, wear it, boom, boom, for weeks. And then he got angry, right? He got angry. Why? Why are we doing this? This is not kung fu. Blah 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 blah. And then what did his master, Mr. Han, I think, right? Okay, what did he do? Try to do this, and then what? Boom. See his clothing stuff. It makes sense. It's a defense. So the thing that we want is that we want to emphasize on is that no matter how small, how dumb, how shallow you think the master is, at the end of the day, he knows best. Like especially for Oogway, come on, he created kung fu basically. That's his stuff. Of course, he's gonna know more than a kid than at that time Tai Lung. My first speaker have said that my second speaker, sorry, have said that he's way older, which means kung fu was created way before Tai Lung, way before his time. So of course he knows better. He's been through it all. He knows a lot. He's seen it all, been through it all. So he must be correct. And at the end he was correct. Tai Lung did went on a rage. It's it's not on Shifu that he went on a rage. Like my first speaker said, it was a test to see if how he would react to it. If you put into perspective, look at the Furious Five or even Tigers. Furious Five is the epitome of respect. Furious Five was created. Look at them. They're just what Shifu envisioned Tai Lung to be. You know, the ferocity of tigers, the elusiveness of Viper. That's what he wanted from Tai Lung. As you can see, he outdid everything from the Furious Five. The Furious Five was what Shifu envisioned Tai Lung to be, the perfect warrior. That's what he envisioned him to be, right? So my point is that Tigers, as the second speaker, I think, from Team Focus said, he had the potential. She had the potential to be Dragon Warrior. No, she doesn't. She she was bullied by Tai Lung. Even with her friends, she got bullied. So no, wrong point. So my point is that the respect is very important. As the Prime Minister of Team Focus has said, one of the key elements of Kung Fu was morality indeed. What does morality indeed meant? Respect, respect. Even in if you see like some even in most martial art competitions, what do they do before and after they fight? They bow down to each other. Why? To show respect. This is why you need to respect them. And you can say, um, as you can see during the movie, Tai Lung was very egotistical. He was confident, better yet, overconfident of his own ability. He laughed off Tigers when she said she was the Dragon Warrior, like she said. So for me, if Shifu did say something to Oogway, wouldn't that even boost his ego even more? So at that stage, he's like, "Yeah, I'm the Dragon Warrior. I'm supposed to be the strongest one." And then now, even the creator of Kung Fu could not stand up against him. What's gonna be of him? He's gonna be even more self-absorbed. He's already so self-centered. All he cares about is him, the scroll, and pleasing the master. It's all about that. So what if he does Shifu does really say it, and he does became he does. I mean, if Shifu said something, she wouldn't become the Dragon Warrior anyway, but it would boost him even more. And even after he got the validation, what Shifu did say, "I was proud of you." He still went on a race. He brushed it off and just nearly killed him. So yeah, I'm just gonna end my part by saying we're right and you're wrong. And I rest my case.
All right, thank you very much to Ayman Najmi, the opposition whip, for that very illustrative speech. So now, so now, It is now the time to prepare for the reply speeches. The time given for each team will be 4 minutes. Debaters, please use the 4 minutes to prepare your reply speeches. All right, it is now the time for the reply speeches, starting with the opposition. I now invite Haziq to give the reply speech from the opposition here.
Assalamualaikum. Am I audible, first of all? All good, all good.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So I'll start now. After going through this debate, there are a few things that came up, and so I like to, as a reply speech, sum it up and show you why we are right and the government team is wrong.
So first of all, we had a bit of a understanding on the info slide that so the government team assumes in their world that the info slide, whatever is on it, that's the only thing. But then on the same note, they talk about Rampage and how it would have been a smaller Rampage. If so, I don't think the government reducing the scope to everything that happened in the info slide is a logical thing to do. One, because they went against it themselves, because they literally talked about the Rampage was out of the info slide. So therefore, that is why we are taking the whole movie as a whole. Another reason why we are going out of the info slide is because if you just look at the info slide, anyone can be portrayed as a villain. You're just looking at the small picture, not the big picture. We want to look at the big picture. If you just look at one part of the story, you might think Oogway is a villain. All right. So then there was the debate about a big rampage versus a smaller rampage, right? So they said that the government team said that if Shifu said something, it would have called a smaller rampage. My second speaker mentioned a smaller rampage is still a rampage. And we all saw in the movie how Oogway easily just basically tickled Tai Lung on the belly and ended him, right? So if there was a big threat, Oogway could have easily settled it. So that's why I think the smaller rampage, bigger rampage argument is really not valid. And in the government's world, it is an assumption themselves as well, right? They talk about us making assumptions. That is a huge assumption that, oh no, Thailand will just make a small rampage, no big deal. They'll just maybe, break down a few houses, maybe. And another point that my second speaker mentioned was disrespect. So the idea of this debate was disrespect. Is it worth disrespect to avoid a big rampage? Right? That is what I saw. I think in the idea of kung fu, disrespect is the worst thing you can do because they mentioned the morality of kung fu is a value of life and whatnot. And another morality of kung fu, as my third speaker mentioned in the Karate Kid analogy, is you need to respect your master. Do not forget your place. Oogway is the creator, the progenitor of kung fu. He created this thing. So you need to respect him. Will it cause a rampage? Sure. Even if Shifu didn't say anything, it caused a rampage. And in your world, even if Shifu said something, it did cause a rampage. So I see no difference. A rampage is a rampage. And if Shifu said something, as my second speaker mentioned, it would cause a division in Kung Fu. So that would be a more long-term conflict, right? Instead of just a rampage, Oogway settles it, tickle him a bit, send him to prison. Now there's a big division, right? And that is more unstable for society as a whole, as my second speaker mentioned in the mathematician analogy. All right, so then there was the point of discipline. So this is what I like to bring up, a discipline in Kung Fu. So as my third speaker mentioned, the Karate Kid analogy, although some things may not make sense to you, they have wisdom behind it. So Oogway denying Tai Lung had wisdom behind it, just like the Karate Kid being trained to pick up his jacket had wisdom behind it. Oogway's method of teaching, as I mentioned before, is he wants you to learn by yourself. He wants you to reflect on yourself. That's what the dragon scroll is when you open it up. It's a reflection of you. Oogway wants you to look into yourself and learn by yourself. That's why he just left Shifu in a flower of like a bunch of flowers. That was cool. But anyways, all right. So last thing in the debate that was discussed is we kept bringing up darkness, darkness, darkness. Exactly, because this darkness is so important in the debate. As my third speaker mentioned, even after Tai Lung got what he wanted, which is the validation from Shifu, the darkness in his heart still took over. And this is what Oogway wanted to show to Tai Lung at the start of when he denied him, that you need to control your darkness before you can become the Dragon Warrior. And that's why I think that Shifu should maintain the respect of Kung Fu to avoid division. And that's why I think that we are right and the government team is wrong. Shifu should have said nothing, and Shifu is right in what he did. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much for the opposition for that very conclusive speech. Now, I would like to invite the final speaker to sum up this debate as a whole from the government side, Chesley.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
All right. Let me organize my notes for a second. All right, I'll begin my speech in 1, 2, 3. As a government of the prime minister of the government side, I can see that this debate for how it unfolds to be very for one sided onto our case, and I will be providing the points as to why that is in my reply speech. But before I do that, first I will provide our points and the arguments that we stood between the points, which is our first point being father figure. So father figure is a point that still stands, seeing as they have not touched it, and their attempt to touch it was for one pointless because they have said that Shifu is the father figure of Tai Lung, but Shifu for one cannot. What their point is cannot disrespect Oogway as the grandmaster. Um, I will be elaborating later on, but for what I understand and for what this debate is, that point still stands. You have not touched it. Second point is safeguard against darkness. So to summarize this point, we are basically talking about how, given that Shifu has said something to Tai Lung, then it would protect Tai Lung from the darkness that is within him. This point also stands. They as the opposition side, for one, has not touched this point at all. It is still protected and still stands. This was said by my deputy prime minister. And then the third point, which given that Shifu were to say something to Tai Lung, then it will make up for the lack of appreciation. So to summarize this point, it talks about how given that Shifu were to say anything, then Tai Lung would appreciate it, seeing as that he is the father figure. This point again still stands because the opposition, what they have done is they have denied talking about our debate. They have denied rebutting our points and instead are repeating the same thing over and over again, making this debate, for what I understand, repetitive and messy, redundant, everything. And then, okay, one point that I will give to them is that they say we, as the I as the prime minister have made the point of the rampage in which it is outside the info slide. Yes, I admit to that mistake. Although it is outside the info slide, my deputy prime minister and my whip has tried to put this debate back on the rails in which MEDCY has denied in doing so. They simply do not want to clash with our points and are going on and on about not wanting to go into the info sites when themselves all their arguments, which is one, the darkness within Tai Lung, and then two talks about respect. The points made were outside of the info slide and inside the movie. All our points are dependent on the info slide, and therefore all our points stand. Whereas for MEDCY, their points all are outside the info slide and therefore do not stand within this debate. And to that, I just want to say that this was a very one-sided debate. The opposition refuses to touch our points. And the points that they did touch were, for one, repetitive, and two, flimsy. They didn't really make good points in which we could argue on. And to that, I strengthened the stance of we believe that if Shifa said something, it will change Tai Lung to becoming the villain of the story to the antagonist or lesser antagonist. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much to Shazlin for that very conclusive speech for this debate. Thank you to all the speakers for this very interesting and great debate. You guys deserve a round of applause. Dearest judge, you have a maximum of 10 minutes to give your verbal adjudications. The floor is now yours, dear judge. You may take your time if you want to organize your adjudications.
All right, I'll be back for a second.
It's okay, and take your time. Thank you.
Hi guys. Congratulations on your debate today. I had fun listening to you guys debate. And would you guys love to hear about the verdict first or verbal adjudication first?
Verdict first, please. And also,
Oh.
yeah, whatever comments you need.
Nama
Criticism, please. We
rival
all
lah.
need criticism right now.
Okay. Okay, kejap. However, even I don't remember because the margin was 1. So, sekejap let me see. Okay. So you guys were very close. The motion was accepted. Okay. So let's go through how the debate could have gone and which aspects of the topic that you could also include. Okay. However, I would love to start with the opposition side. I think that your case was great. Overall, I think that you guys, I've been told that you guys are beginners. However, that today was a very decent debate. I enjoyed it. However, of course, certain cases could have been expanded, both of the bench today. Okay, moving on to the opposition side. I do think that you guys understood the motion. Both of the team actually understood the motion. However, things could have gone a different. You could actually, one of the main thing that you talk about is disrespect, right? So basically, what I think that the opposition should have done today, it doesn't mean that you guys didn't do it. Which is first thing first is to protect Shifu. How do I say this? Like, you guys did it by saying that Shifu didn't say anything simply because he wants to respect his master, right? You could also say how he wouldn't have known even if Tai Lung would have gone a rampage after that incident, you know? Like you could have stated that even our father wouldn't know what to expect, what we would do, you know, in real life. If you want to go on with the analogy, you could make that your another argument. Like, how could he have known to say something at that time, for instance? Like he's not like he doesn't have any superpower to actually detect, okay, Tai Lung will might do something back afterwards. Lagi-lagi, of course, the government side have stated something about father figure, right? Their main argument was about father figure. So, you guys could have said how Shifu, if Shifu is the father figure of Tai Lung, he would have seen Tai Lung in a much positive manner because he is close to Tai Lung, right? So he wouldn't have expected that Tai Lung would go overboard, you know? So like you cannot blame Shifu for that. Okay. And then what is interesting is you could actually go with if Tai Lung didn't end up being the villain, right? What would happen to the story in terms of the realistic world? Like would the story have been interesting as it is? Like without villain, would the audience love Kung Fu Panda as it is now? You can actually touch on that. Like from a movie director perspective, like would people have seen Po as someone stronger than he is now? Would it have been better? Like if Tai Lung was only his rival and only an anti-hero, like the government said, would the people actually appreciate Po more? You know, you could go on that way as well. That is interesting actually because you could talk about what happens within the world of Kung Fu Panda. At the same time, you can also talk about the realistic world that we live in. Like, I wouldn't want to watch Kung Fu Panda if like he doesn't have any real villain, you know? I wouldn't, I would think that, oh, they are just friends anyways. Okay, you guys can talk about that as well. Also, I do think that you guys could have engaged more in each other's points. Like they said about the father figure, you could have stated how, as a father figure, he would see his son in the best manner, blah, blah, blah. You could have engaged with their point more. Okay, so that is overall like things that could have gone, could have been expanded. I hope that's clear. However, overall, I do think that you guys did great. I do have a tip, like not tip, like just be careful whenever you use an analogy, because based on like my experience, it could easily turn into a fallacy. Have you guys taken thinking skills? You don't have that. Okay, but if you learn about that, fallacies could happen kalau analogy is not properly made. And then also overall for both teams, I do want to let you guys know what I've learned from CFS until university, right? In debating, make sure that avoid saying that how we are right and they are wrong. Instead of that, say we are better than them. You know, it's kind of tricky, but it's just like we acknowledge that we have cons. However, we handle our cons better than them. Okay, so okay, next moving on to the government side. I do think that the structure for the government side was quite clearer to me, because you know what, I haven't seen Kung Fu Panda Dragon Warriors. I'm so sorry for the fans. so listening to the motion, I was kind of blind, so I was depending on you guys as well to let me know what actually happened during the incident. So government side actually made it clearer lah. However, I do think that both side did good, but as someone that hasn't seen Kung Fu Panda, I understood it better when the government side explained about it. Okay. I do think what could have been done better.
Sister Christina, I have a question on that point.
Yeah.
Basically, I usually play third speaker roles, but Aiman Mujadid decided
Yeah, I
to throw
could see
me
that
first.
actually.
Yeah. So I have a question for like a first op speaker. So let's say in this debate, like for example, you didn't know much about Kung Fu Panda, and in my opinion, personally, the government didn't give a full enough story of what happened. So I, as a first op, am I allowed to like give my story of Panda?
Yeah. You are allowed, since this is not this kind of motion is actually my favorite, because you are not fixed in a box. Like there are no certain mechanism that need to be done and whatnot. And if you agree, then you agree. If you want to add on, you can add on. Okay, okay, since you said that they haven't talked much about it, I can agree with that as well. I could appreciate a little bit more explanation. However, I do realize that I should have watched Kung Fu Panda, so it's not on you guys. But okay, I think that you guys what made you win, I think lah kan, is because you guys said that you want to achieve lesser damage, right? So it could be better for the world of Kung Fu Panda. I can see why lesser damage would have been better. What could have been done by the opposition at that time, at that point, is okay, even if lesser damage is done, what would happen to the storyline then? You guys could actually be the realistic ones here, right? Okay, lesser damage has been done. What will happen between Oogway and Oogway and who? Shifu. What will happen between them? So you guys could actually just check up their solution is not the best pun. Like, you know, even if there are lesser damage cost, our side is better. Yeah, like that. First two, I think overall the reasoning on their side is more structured in a way. So I think the second speaker talks a lot on the government side, and I could see that you guys are human science student. You guys talk about nature and nurture. Okay. I think that those points, there are many points being brought up. However, I do think that you guys can actually focus on boleh je lesser points, but a much in-depth analysis of each point. Okay. Tapi overall, I think that you guys did great lah. Kalau nak a more detailed verbal education personally ke apa, you guys can contact me jap. Sebab I don't think that we have enough time kalau nak cakap pasal each one of you personally kan. Nak tahu best speaker ke? Sekejap
Please. Yes, we want to know.
Orang ni betul-betul kompetitif takut pun. Okay, LO. LO best speaker. Perasan tak tu LO? Okay, so good job. I enjoyed today's debate. You guys did great. And don't gaduh-gaduh. Your margin was just like 1, so don't worry. Thank you.
Before everyone disperse, we have just
Thank
a
you.
bit of time. Can everyone, if possible, get on screen so that I can take a picture? It's possible. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. It was a
Thank
good
you,
debate.
everyone.
Thank
And
you.
everybody is indeed Kung Fu fighting. Everybody.
Yeah.
Aduh.
Okay, bye-bye.
Nice job, guys.
Okay. I have fun bullying Haziq.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, korang dah hilang dah.
Do you want me to convey it to them?
Dekat ke?
Yeah.
I was in focus juga, wakil focus juga at Dean's Cup before this. So like sebab macam I'm in psychology lah, most of focus nak masuk psychology. So, macam if they have any questions ke apa ke.
Well, that will be very interesting. I'll convey it to them. Because
you.
both the speakers, Shazlin and Zulfa, are
What-
like,
what's the-
they're here.
What's the by the way? We were like, oh no, I tekan je by the way. I was like, okay, go on, get back.
This is our senior, Kak Christina is
I was in
psychology.
focus, representing focus waktu Dean's Cup juga.